Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Reads Podcast, the show where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. And today I am joined by Miss Kris Keppeler. Kris is a narrator, actor, voice actor, and writer. After discovering her singing voice in junior high choir, she's never quit using her voice to amuse and instigate. She's impersonated a cat, a prince, a princess, witch, dragon, and a president with her voice and has narrated and produced over 50 audiobooks. She narrates and produces an award-winning weekly storytelling podcast about life and befuddlement. She's crafted blogs and articles using humor and valuable information to delight readers. So today she's here. She's going to share with us a little bit more about her career, what kind of got her into voice acting, and especially her work in audiobooks. So, Kris, thank you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you and learning more about your story. And welcome to Southern Reads.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you've had a very interesting career and you've had a really successful career in voice acting. But share with me a little bit about what kind of influenced you to take on audiobooks and kind of have audiobooks be brought to your attention.
Well, it's because I'm an actor and I was also a singer. And so getting into voice acting itself was just a natural thing to do as an actor and singer because I use my singing skills along with my acting skills when I step in front of the mic. And um, actors are just a natural for doing audiobooks because we're used to creating characters. Um, we're, just used to handling manuscripts of all types. So, yeah. And that's what I got hired was like when I went out into the freelance world, that's what I got hired first to do was audiobooks.
Now, was there a particular kind of genre of audiobooks that you wanted to work with? Was it more of working with kids, working or with children's books, more adult oriented books, or did you kind of just do whatever was available at the time?
Actually, I got started in nonfiction, and I found that really interesting because I learn while I'm narrating because I'm really into to learning stuff. In fact, I just narrated a book about ants and actually found it fascinating. Lots of ants are scary creatures, let me tell you. So that's how, but I also love to do children's books. My voice is just, good for children's books. And I just love the stories and I love creating the unusual characters. I did a couple months ago, uh, I narrated a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, The Farmyard Cock and the Weathercock. And I not only had to, give the rooster a voice, but I had to give the weather vane and a cucumber a voice. And so I find a lot of the children's characters to be just fun to come up with the voices that match the character in the story, even if they're in an inanimate object.
So tell me a little bit about kind of the process it takes to do audiobooks. Do you go into a studio? Do you do a lot of your recordings from home? Or how do you kind of record and sit down and do the audio sessions?
Pretty much nowadays, you have to have a home studio, and I do. It's a few feet this way, fully enclosed and sound dampened. Uh, because that's probably the biggest technical thing about audiobooks is recording in the right area that you don't have reverb or background noise. And so that's really the big thing for audiobooks, well, for a lot of voiceover, but for audiobooks especially, is the recording background. You have to have the right recording background. And so a home studio that's sound dampened, or there are people that use their walk-in closets if they're all carpeted and surrounded by clothes. That's what keeps things sound from bouncing around and getting reverb and stuff like that. Um, and then I didn't find it too hard to learn how to use an audio editor, but just finding one that works for you. Because some of them are rather complicated, especially if you try to use one that's also for mixing music and stuff like that. The audio editors that are more simple waveforms are easier to learn. And just get a mic. You need a mic that works for you in your space. And that would be generally a condenser mic. That's the most popular type of mic for voice acting of any type and audiobooks. So you have to have a power source for that. So I have a little audio box that connects into my laptop, and you don't have to have a Mac. I've been a long time Windows user, so and that works just fine. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of your audio recording in one setting, or does it take multiple days? How long do you normally sit down to record for audiobooks?
Generally, it takes multiple days unless you've got a really short book, 10,000, 15,000 words. You can do the entire narration in a day. Not the editing, but the entire narration. But usually if it's a longer book, you're usually going to go 2-3 hours, and that's about all your voice will take. So 2-3 hour slices every day until you get it recorded, and then go through that editing process. That's what I do. I suppose some edit right after they record. You can do that too. It's just personal preference there. But you're going to be able to do at most 2 or 3 hours of narration a day.
Now, I know when it comes to the audio recordings and audiobooks too, you don't really have a lot of, I would say, kind of freedom about self-publishing and traditional publishing. I mean, you have to work with a publisher to have it because of either where the book comes out. How, after you record it and send it in for review and approval,
Mm-hmm.
how does that process work? Is it the same as if you had submitted like a book to a traditional publisher? Or are there any kind of differences in that process?
Yeah, generally, if you work through ACX, which is the back office for Audible, they have an automatic uploading process. And so you have to upload all the files, and you have to do that. It's easiest if you do that, chapter by chapter. But also there are extra things you need to record. There is opening credits and closing credits and a retail sample. The opening credits go first, and then introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, then closing credits, and then you have the retail sample. So, and that's an automated process. If you go through ACX, the back office, the author can do that themselves, or if you've gone through the process with an author, they've chosen you as the narrator. The narrator goes in there and uploads, and then the author approves or disapproves of it. So yeah.
When
And
it gets, go ahead.
Yeah, the uploading process is very similar on all the distribution platforms. Similar process. um, for Authors Republic or Spotify or in audio. So yeah. Yeah.
If it gets declined, typically what are the next steps that you take after that? After if it gets declined and has to be sent back for, or it gets sent back to you, what do you do with that?
Well, there could be two reasons for that. It's because the sound quality isn't right. That happens less now because ACX has a lab that you can upload and check that the files will meet most of their specs. They can still reject it for other things, other sound quality issues. But generally, if you meet um, all their basic sound quality, it's probably going to not be rejected. The other reason, you have an issue with the author, and you just have to work with the author to make those little tweaks that are needed that they'd prefer. So, but hopefully, you know, generally the author has to approve the first 15 minutes of the audiobook. And generally, if they've done that, then they're okay. They're going to be okay with the rest of it. So, but sometimes you have to go back and tweak things. But you try to avoid that as much as possible.
For any of the recordings that you have, was there one that was particularly difficult for you, or was one that you just had not a really too good of an experience with?
Um, the one that was difficult was a children's book, and she wanted to add music, which adds a whole new layer of difficulty.
Mm.
And she wanted some very specific uh, sounds, a few specific sounds added. And then she wanted each animal, there were 10 different ones that I needed to voice, and she wanted them to sound very different from each other. And most of them were fairly easy. Snakes are fairly easy. Bees, because that's. But what the heck does an aardvark sound like?
Mm.
I had to think about that one for a while, but usually I go with the when I'm thinking of character voice with a physical attribute that that character or animal has, and this they have long tongues, and so he talk like this.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was hard just because it had some unusual characters, and adding sound to it added a whole new passing sound quality. So
Yeah, it's interesting because you have to, for some of these, have to do a lot. I feel like you'd have to do research and everything, especially for the animals, and you have to make kind of the noises or anything.
yes.
Um, some audiobooks that I've heard, and I kind of want your opinion on this too.
Oh,
I have heard from some audiobooks where they do one person will just do the whole book in itself, and then other audiobooks I know they have multiple people come in and they have different
yes.
roles. Is it necessary for some audiobooks to have more than one person be in there? Like for instance, be like a chapter book, let's just say for like a young adult novel, someone came in and there was a male and female, and there's like a female just kind of reads everything in her normal voice. They don't really change the altered thing in their voice, but then
Yeah.
there could be another book that come out that people come in with multiple voices. They have multiple people play different characters. Is that
Yep.
necessary for audiobooks, or is it completely okay if you just do one voice for all the parts?
It's okay to do well. You should be distinguishing the voices somewhat. You know, a guy can't totally impersonate a woman and a woman can't totally impersonate a guy, but you need to bring that character's emotional essence out, whether they're male or female, um, or some, you know, alien. So it's more about the acting there and getting the acting right so it sounds real. Um, and you know, fits with what the author has written. Um, multi-character audiobooks are great, but they're just not made that much because they're way more expensive to bring all those people in together. So it's more, I think, of an expense thing than it is anything else. It's just, yeah.
Now, after you do the recordings,
Mm-hmm.
how long does it normally take for the recordings to get reached out to other people? And do you receive any feedback or get reviews like normally how you would get book reviews? Do you get kind of any like written reviews on audiobooks from storytellers like yourself?
Yeah, you can read reviews out there. I quit doing it because it's just a lot of it's just so all over the place. I read one review where the listener thought I was fantastic, and the next review down, they didn't like my voice. Reviews are really a mixed bag, especially for narrators. So, yeah.
Do you when you were doing the training at first, who was some people that you looked up to and who were some huge inspirations for you when it came to your voice acting career?
Oh boy. Scott Brick, who's an amazing audiobook narrator and who I've met more than once. Really nice guy too. Um, other than that, I just you know, I think it's just I think more about working with the author to bring out the essence of the book is, yeah, it's what I've always thought about, and working with the author and speaking with them about what they need from me as a narrator.
Do you do kind of any other jobs on the side when you're not doing full-time work as a or work as an audio storyteller or is this kind of what you consider to do full time?
No, I don't do it full time. I do other voice acting, e-learning, film dubbing. I'm also still an actor. I have an agent here in town who I'm still auditioning for indie film and commercials, which is mostly what we have up here in our area. And I also do some writing. I'm working on a memoir self-development book right now. So yeah.
Looking over all the works that you've done in the 50 audiobooks that you've done, which one has been your favorite so far?
Oh my. I think my favorite is still, I narrated an entire series on Wicca. And I knew nothing about Wicca when I started the series. And it was just really fascinating to learn about something I didn't know anything about. And the books were really well written. And I really enjoyed learning and then narrating them.
If you could, out of all the books that have been released now from the past, and it can be iconic ones, if a book, if someone came out to you and said that if you had the opportunity to do an audiobook on or voice an audio book on whatever book that has come out with, which book would you want to be an audiobook voice for?
I just love Mark Twain. And I love his humor, and I love to narrate funny stuff. So I'd really like to. I narrated one of his short stories once, um, when I was at a conference, and it was so much fun to do. So I like to narrate an entire Mark Twain book, a funny one, not his most famous ones, but he wrote some really funny, interesting stuff that you don't hear about much anymore.
Where would you like to see yourself 10 years from now with your voice acting career?
I would, wow, I would love to have coached lots of authors to narrate their own audiobook. Um, yeah, there's so many authors out there that could narrate in their own voice, and their book would sound great, um, if they did. But it's I love coaching them to get to that point where they feel confident and they get in the studio and they get their book narrated in their voice. So I love working with several authors per year, helping them with that.
Lastly, if you had to pick a career choice, whether it between being a full-time audiobook voice actor or a movie voice actor, which one would you pick?
Oh, I'd love to do more film. It was always, yeah, um, so much fun. I look back on the time when I was doing more film, and it was fun. I'd love to do more film work.
Well, Kris, I appreciate you so, so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on the podcast today to showcase and share your story with my audience and everything. For people interested, if they would like to check more of your work out and they would like to listen to more of what you have out there, where can they go to learn more information?
Well, then go to my website, kriskeppeler.com, or they can go to my YouTube channel, um, where my two of my podcasts, you can find them, and one is some very funny stories and interesting stories, and then I interview female leaders too. So it's yeah, so they can go to my YouTube site, which is Kris Talks About the Wisdom of Women.
And I will put all of her information in the description box below. So just feel free to go check her workout, check all those out. I'll make sure to put that into the show notes as well. So feel free to go down and check those links out. Feel free to check out me on the socials as well. You can reach out to me on Instagram and TikTok at southern.reads. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcasts. And feel free to also connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just my first and last name, Noah May, on there. I'm also on Goodreads, Storygraph, Fable, Margins, where all the book links are. Just check the description box for those links, as they're all kind of different because I some of them have custom links, some of them don't. Just check the links down there, and they're all on my website, noahspodcasts.com as well. So just feel free to go over there to check those out and find those links. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today's episode. Subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of when new episodes like this come out. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I will catch you in the next episode of Southern Reads.